Lesson number 3, continuation of meditation scientifically explained. God is light. God's communion within his own being is a sequential transition from the still, unconditioned light of his knowing and the moving, conditioned light of his thinking. The light of his own knowing is undivided. It is a magnetic equilibrium. The two lights of his thinking are divided. They are the electric pulsations of two-way motion which build thought forms for recording God's knowing. God's magnetic universe is the still light of his knowing. God's electric universe is the product of God's knowing, expressed by the pulsing lights of his dynamic thinking. Man is light. I cannot say more to you than that, for God's communion with his self is identical in principle and practice with your communion with yourself. Oneness is God. Your electric universe is the product of your knowing expressed by your thinking. If you can but fully realize this vitally important fact, you will be farther ahead than you could possibly be by reading all of the books in the Congressional Library. By communion with full understanding of its meaning, you become aware of your oneness with God. You become more and more aware of the fact that God's mind is your mind, that his knowledge and power are your knowledge and power. To the extent that you become aware of God as the still light which centers you as soul of you, you are God. As you become more and more enabled to forget your body awareness and find yourself alone in that stillness of the light, you form inspired conceptions of ideas which come to you in timeless flashes of that light which you do not see, but know because of its illuminating presence. You feel the ecstasy of it in the light of your soul, and in the inspiration which accompanies your exaltation. All geniuses conceive their ideas with that accompanying ecstasy and exaltation. They then think those ideas into form. After the mental image is clear, they give a material body to each idea for others to interpret in the measure of their knowing. To sum this up, we may say that meditation is a sequential journey from the zero of mind knowing through the action of mind thinking to the rest point which centers two-way thinking and back again to that zero of mind knowing. The more intensely you can comprehend this definition, the more simply you will find all things in life, for we do not depart from the above formula in any decision or action of life or the solution of any problems of life, nor do we depart from it during this entire course of lessons. It is the very basis, as you will find out as we proceed. I urge you, therefore, to give deep thought to it and recognize its prototype and principle in everything as we proceed. Desire in God to manifest his being by producing imagined forms, by projecting in light waves of motion from the stillness of his light of knowing, is the energy of the universe which he is eternally creating. Desire in you is, likewise, the energy which enables you to create your universe. We will talk much later on about your energy and God's energy in relation to the motive power extended to you from God and your use of it. Constant communion with your source of energy will give you both knowledge and power to use it by giving form to your inspired conception under your cosmic control instead of under your sensed control. The love nature of God. Yesterday I endeavored to take one step nearer to giving you the simplicity which underlies your interchange between knowing and thinking. Today I wish to take another step in that direction by having you understand the love nature of the universe and how that love principle parallels the simple formula I gave you yesterday. Communion with God exalts you to the ecstasy of that universal love principle of God and of nature. Ecstasy is the one undivided emotion, the balanced ecstasy of love for which there are no opposites. The reaction to this giving of love is love re-given. When your meditation gives to you the love nature of God, you will then know that there is no evil, no sin, no bad in God or in nature. There is naught but good in God's universe. In communing with God directly, or through those modes of nature which lead you to God, you become aware that his nature is your nature. In your deep communion, you feel only the universal love nature of God extending through you to all the universe. You then love all things, for there is naught but love extending through you and from you. Your own ecstasy tells you that. Imagine yourself communing with God indirectly, such as listening to the heavenly rhythms of God's heartbeat in a masterful symphony. While those enraptured by the divine rhythm reaching your very soul, can you possibly imagine yourself thinking evil or thinking sinfully by planning to cheat, lie, or steal? No, of course you cannot. The reason you cannot is because you are reflecting the love nature of the universe in your spiritual self in its entirety, and there is no sin in that love nature to reflect. That is why you should seek God in meditation immediately if you indulge in an angry or even unkind thought to find balance in the universal love principle. Else the toxins of unbalanced conditions brought on by yourself will upset your balanced body rhythms, which all illnesses are. Form the constant habit of meditation. Make it a moment-to-moment continuous attitude of your mind in order to keep in tune with the universal rhythms of God's balanced thinking. Be in tune with them always. Never stray far enough from God awareness to allow the slightest imperfection in your work, your health, your friendship, your business plans, or any achievement whatsoever. The more you become fully aware that you cannot do anything of yourself alone and desire partnership with the whole universe, you will find that you can, in the deep depths of your communion. I am the universe. I am all that is, for the light of my Father is all that is, and I am that light. I and my Father are one. That is cosmic meditation, for that is the thinking of the new race of cosmic man now in its borning. In those deep depths you can desire what you will, and behold, it standeth before you. All nature manifests love. The entirety of creation is the manifestation of love. Every effect of motion in nature is a manifestation of the nature of God, for nature gives of its all in every action and re-gives equally in every reaction. If that were not so, the movements of the planets would not be predictable. The electric heartbeat of nature expresses love in both halves of each cycle of the universal heartbeat. Nature never takes for God never takes. Nature never gives unequally, for God never gives unequally. God's equally balanced giving for re-giving is never violated in nature. It could not be violated, for nature is an extension of God's nature. For this reason, the balance of nature can never be upset. When you commune with God, do not have desire written upon your heart for that which is to be given to you. Ask rather to be inspired as to what you can give and how in order to be worthy of that which will surely be given to you if you first give. Unless you first give, you will not be re-given. Let your thinking be energized to express love by first giving love, in order that its inviolate reaction will re-give love. To give possessions is not giving love. Love can be given only from yourself to another self, and gold given without self is like unto sounds of music given without also giving soul. Even though the candle is still the same light unchanged, even though it is given of itself to all the universe for its re-giving, so are you the light of love, which you can give to all the world unchanged, and still have that which you have given with all else added to it. To extend love is to multiply the light of it 1,000-fold. To take love is to lose the light and take on the dark. To the extent which you are illumined with the light of love, which comes only from communion with the source of love, you will be enabled to manifest your genius in masterly creations of your own. The very purpose of meditation is to enable you to give body forms to ideas conceived by your mind. Unless the light of love which illumines you is extended into your creations, they are but dead things which cannot endure. The one point I wish to accentuate is that what I am now telling you is universal law, inescapable and inevitable law, which cannot be violated or set aside. For me to tell you this is not enough. Talk it over with God in your heart, and you will really know that if you break it in the slightest extent, it will break you equally, while if you work with that law, it will work with you to the fulfillment of your every desire. So how does meditation help to create? A musician asks how meditation helps a musician to compose a symphony. He claims that teachers are more necessary because of its technique. Teachers can never teach you to be a poet, musician, artist, inventor, or creator of anything. God is the only one who can teach you to create. A teacher can give you a material body to your concept, but only God can give you your inspired concept. In other words, a teacher can give you a technique for expressing your idea, but he cannot become your soul from which your concept extends. If the teacher can re-inspire you with his inspiration, that inspiration of his, reflected in you, awakens the sleeping genius which is within you, but no one can teach you that. If, for example, you have been inspired by listening to Paderewski, you have not been taught anything except the fact that you have been enabled to recognize the light within yourself by his re-illumining. The beauty of music is not in its technique, it is in the soul of its creator. Neither is it in the sound vibrations of the music, it is in the silence of the light from which that sound sprang. You can know music and think it without acquiring a technique of expressing it, or without producing sounds to give it a body. Your inner ears can hear the music in the silence of God's eternal rhythms, and you can interpret your moods into the rhythm of the universal heartbeat, as Beethoven interpreted the mood of the moonlight into its rhythm of it without having any teacher but his God self. Consider the life of any great musical genius. What he finally produces in a written composition first begins in his soul. He must first find aloneness with himself by getting away from all other people, and even from his own body awareness. He must suppress all outer influence to seek that stillness from within, from which the inner ears of his soul can hear the rhythms of the universal heartbeat of God's creative thinking. To find that stillness in the light of knowing, he must stop thinking, in order that he can conceive idea from the light of all-knowing. From the ecstasy of that stillness, the inspiration is born in his very soul. The motive for his symphony gradually takes a form through the heartbeat of his thinking, which he extends from the stillness of his soul, then ceases to extend it to again find the stillness of the light, which is gradually giving him his motive by its inspiring, illuminating within him. This is the mood of all creative geniuses during the inspiring and ecstatic hours during which they commune with God. By such communion you unfold your own genius. There is no other way to become a cosmic being, for there is no other way to acquire inspired knowledge which uplifts you from earth unto the high heavens of the kingdom of the soul where cosmic man dwells. Up to this inspired stage of concept, no teacher can become a part of it. Not until the creator of a cosmic idea wishes to give it a material body can the teacher be of any help. By giving it a material body, I mean to extend the conception from the conscious of mind, through thinking, to the sounds of a musical instrument, or the symbols of a written manuscript. That is purely a question of technique. The teacher is helpful in the acquirement of a technique and all the mechanics which go with it, which anyone of an average intelligence can also learn from a teacher. In giving your conception a material body, many years of technical and scientific practice are needed. The science in the octave spectrum of color or tone is needed for expressing each of the arts, for from these octave wave rhythms the post, painter, architect, sculptor, or musician gives rhythmic bodies to his inspired conception. The architect must first go to the source of all inspiration for his conception. He does not need to be an engineer or mathematician for that, but when he builds the cathedral of his inspired imagining, he must know the technique of the engineer and mathematician in order to give a material body to his imagined one. Likewise, the painter, sculptor, poet, or musician needs to be informed, either by books, teachers, experimentation, or experience, regarding the techniques of giving bodies to his spiritually conceived ideas. Remember, however, that technical information is not knowledge. You can be informed through the senses, but you can acquire knowledge only through desire of the soul for illumining with the light of all-knowing. Knowledge is of the soul, and the soul is not concerned with technique. To the soul they have no existence, for your consciousness can conceive a greater symphony, poem, monument, painting, or temple than you could ever give a material body to, no matter how perfect your technique is. The soul's greatest masterpieces are never produced on earth. They never descend from the high heavens of the mind universe. No musical master can produce in sound the music which he hears in his soul while in communion with God. Physical sounds can be heard by anyone, but the silence from which they spring can be heard only by a cosmic God-conscious being, while his soul is in communion with the universal soul. Speaking again of technique, An electric machine can remember information recorded upon it electrically, and it can repeat it countless times with accuracy. The electric machine is sensed for that purpose. It is a body without a soul which obeys the will of an intelligence which presses a button. Many humans are but electric machines which remember and repeat information recorded upon their senses. People say of such persons that their technique is perfect but soulless. That means that God awareness in them has not yet been awakened. That is what I mean by saying that teachers can give you technique, but only God can awaken the light of cosmic inspiration in you. Many unawakened humans forever repeat the ideas of others, like those who stand in assembly lines, each one electrically sensed to do his unthinking, unknowing part, like an electrically driven automaton. But many there are also who stand in assembly lines all day and perform work automatically with their bodies while their souls are in communion with God in his high heavens. These are the cosmic ones among men who are seeking to find the kingdom of the soul's high heaven. These who desire the light shall find the light by meditation with God. John Jones of the assembly line can escape from John Jones and also be Rachmaninoff or Shakespeare or Phidias at will. Through meditation, John Jones can roam the universe and be alone with God in the deep woods, hearing the rippling fall of waters or the breeze in the pines above the crash of factory wheels or gears. No matter how heavy the burden of the treadmill of life may be, nor how bitterly your body may be chained to earth, you may escape from it and be exalted among men by hearing the still, small voice within you whispering inspired words to you in God's language of light. End of lesson. Lesson number 4. How to meditate and questions answered concerning meditation. Meditation is a key that will open the door to your inner self, wherein lies all the true power for material manifestation. For as sound spring from the silences, so does positive action come from inner knowing. It has been said that one must lose one's life to find it. Applied to meditation, it means that one must lose or forget one's mortal body in order to become aware of one's immortality. That is exactly what happens when we seek the light of self-illumination in our eternal selves. The great glory of existence is reached only by mind awareness. You can only reach supreme heights that way. In that ecstatic existence is the seed and source of all power and all knowledge which is yours by just desiring it. It is not easy to acquire the meditative state all at once, even as carefully as these lessons tell you how to acquire it. It must come slowly and always through desire to talk with God. There is simply no other way. You must either desire to live in the sensed body of earth, or in the light of the mind kingdom of heaven. That is the answer to those who say they try to meditate but find that they cannot stop thinking to get into that state of mind. To those who are thus troubled in making the transition, I would say that if you desire to talk to the President of the United States, your mind would be centered on the reason why you desire to talk to him. Exactly the same procedure takes place when you wish to talk with God. Your mind is centered on your desire. You could not possibly think of any other things, nor could your thinking wander aimlessly. Concentrate hard upon your desire if you wish to, or just breathe your desire softly, or just write it upon your heart wordlessly. Perhaps your desire has no definite objective other than to find the peace of heavenly companionship by dwelling in the love nature of yourself and God. It makes no difference what your desire is, or whether your approach is in deep concentration upon some specific thing, or in dreamy decentration upon some nebulous forming idea, or upon nothing at all. You cannot concentrate long in any case, not more than 5 to 10 minutes before the reaction of decentration replace it. Gradually the inspiration you ask for will come to you. Before you can realize it, you will find yourself stepping in and out of the body, in that alternation which always takes place while losing one's sensed awareness completely in full forgetfulness of body and full awareness of the light of knowing which mind is. Slowly, very slowly, read the answer to the first question on how to meditate. Then follow through one step at a time, letting the ego of your material self melt into the great being of your eternal self. Gradually you will find it becomes increasingly easy to merge into the oneness of the universe. The secrets of the universe will then be gradually revealed to you, and you must then put your inner knowing into material action. Remember, you have all knowledge and power within you to tap your inner reservoir and express your inherent genius. Question: How can I decentrate into the stillness of the meditative mood? The more I try to stop thinking, the more things I keep thinking of. Answer: first, desire to be in the light. Say to yourself wordlessly, I want to be alone with God. If you do want to be alone with God, there is a reason for it. The reason is that you need God. You have a desire you want fulfilled, a problem to solve, illness, misfortune, financial loss or need, idea for invention, conception for work or art. No matter what it is you need, whether knowledge, power, or inspiration, no matter what it is, desire it in your heart, wordlessly. Do not talk to God in words. Talk to Him in essence. Know Him. Do not think of Him and thus make Him objective and apart from you. Be Him. Let your soul touch His soul. Second, your desire is written upon your heart. It is registered in your soul. It is no longer your body desire. It is your soul's desire. You are in communion with God about it, not in words, but in light. You have an increasing sense of joyness. Your desire is written into the universal heartbeat rhythmically. You are responding to it rhythmically. You are no longer just body, you are soul, slightly aware of body, slightly aware of earth and the heavens above, and of creating change. You are not thinking of extraneous things. You cannot think of objective things of earth while in the spirit. Third, you are in a contemplative mood. There is an indescribable peace in its rest. Your soul sees the beauty of the flower you are passing. It is not your eyes which sees the beauty, nor the ears which hear the silence from which the sounds of earth spring. You are in the rhythmic world of imagining, the world of inspiration, the world of the high heavens, the formless, indescribable world of the high heavens. Fourth, you are in communion with God. You are one with all things. All things are one. You know all things as one. You know the light which all things are. You know the love nature of God and of all things. You know God is love. You know yourself as love. You know the ecstasy of love. You know yourself. The mortal you has become the eternal you. Fifth, that which you desire to know, you do know. That which you desire to have, you now have. You have always known and always have had that which you have but now desired. You have always known it in spirit, for you are the light of all, knowing which spirit is. God does not give you knowledge or power. He gives you an awareness that you already have all knowledge and all power that He has, for He makes you aware of your oneness with Him. When you actually know that, you can then say, my Father and I are one. Neither does God give you material things without your equal regiving, for that is the inviolate law regarding all material things. He gives you the seed, but you must nurture the seed. He gives you His body to fashion into the form of your desire, but you must give equally of your body to fashion it. God gives you the tools you need, but you must use them. God manifests the spirit of His nature in His own body by creating His body in the image of His self. You must manifest the spirit of your nature in your own body by creating your body in the image of yourself. Sixth, in meditation you have stepped out of the material into the spiritual you. You have stepped out of the body of yourself into the mind of yourself, out of the manifestation of reality into reality. You have stepped out of the conditioned universe of divided and unbalanced things into the unconditioned and undivided universe of balance which controls unbalanced things. You have done this because you had desire in you, which must be fulfilled. Your desire has been fulfilled. God has illumined you with the knowledge you desire. You have become inspired. Conception of idea in spiritual form is now in you. But can you now come back into the physical world and transform your conceived image into a material one? You now know cause. Can you translate it into effect? God has given you what you have desired, but now comes the important question as to what you are going to do about it. How shall you use it? Have you the moral courage to use it, or are you still a weakling, preferring to suffer the effects of your ills rather than remove their cause? Shall you work with God and rise, or against God and fail? Your body manifests your mind. It will do what you command it to do. Is it ill? If so, it is out of balance. Balance is in the eternal you. Now extend balance to the mortal you. Whatever your problem was, it has been solved in the spirit of you. Can you now manifest it? Can you now give it a body? Can you now extend your spiritual balance to your unbalanced physical body to stop the wreckage of your business, or heal your body, or regain a lost friendship? Conclusion. All of our problems of life lie in the fact that we are forever manifesting cause by extending cause into effect. What we know spiritually, we are endeavoring to manifest physically. We succeed or fail, partially or fully. Our failure is certain if we work alone without God, for we can do nothing of ourselves alone. The measure of our ability to transform the reality of cause into its simulated manifestation is the measure of our God awareness, coupled with desire to work knowingly with God from moment to moment. To commune with God for inspiration alone, then forget God until later on when mediocrity is sapped upon your work, is to fall short of manifesting your soul's desire. But to create a masterpiece with truly manifest your soul, desire means that you must work knowingly with God every moment while interpreting the rhythm of your inspired vision into rhythmic form. God's creative processes are our creative processes. His creations are extensions of His knowing transformed into the desired form through action. Our creations are also extensions of our knowing transformed by action. If we think that God has not granted our desire, it is because we have failed to manifest the awareness which He has given us. If our problems are still unbalanced, it is because we have failed to extend our balance to them. We have that balance to extend, but do not extend it. We continue the cause of our ills and then blame God for continuing their effects. In this manner, we learn our lessons of failure and success, good or ill. Life is just a lesson, just a continuous process of learning how so transform cause into effect in such a manner that we accomplish what we desire to accomplish, or we do not. There is only one reason for failure to fulfill your greatest desire, just as there is but one reason for fulfilling it abundantly. I cannot fully explain and define this one reason so early in the unfoldment of this new knowledge, for you are not yet ready for it, and will not be until I am enabled to change some basic misconceptions commonly held by all mankind of this present age. Gradually, as the real picture of God and nature unfolds, this one reason will be given to you as the most basic and fundamental law and principle of creation. Also, it is inviolate, whether heeded or unheeded. All I can say now is to repeat again the fact that this universe is based upon love and the law of love, which is the principle of rhythmic, balanced interchange, or equal giving for regiving, as the basis of what I shall try to gradually unfold. To say that it can now be comprehended is to assume that you know what love means, and you do not. Its meaning has not yet penetrated human conscience sufficiently to become a part of human practice. Words alone will not convey knowledge of God's one law to you. You must know it in your heart until it becomes your nature. When it becomes your nature, you will then practice it without compromise or without the possibility of violating it. When you and many other men have acquired this understanding as a part of your nature, the day of cosmic man will have dawned. Question. You say that God does not give us material things without our equal regiving. That is contrary to all of my whole life's teachings, which say that all God's gifts are free, that God gives us everything, supplies all our needs freely and without price, as freely as the air we breathe. Answer. That idea is one of the commonly accepted misconceptions I have just referred to. It is entirely erroneous because it is not either the nature of God nor does it conform with His law, as exemplified in the universal heartbeat and in the electric wave. Let us begin to reform our old conceptions one step at a time. God works with you, not for you as man believes. God gives, but you must re-give, and equally. God gives you the free will right to your action, but withholds the right to the reaction. Woe betide you if your action is out of balance with its reaction, for God will not allow unbalance in all of His universe. You have spoken of the air we breathe. God gives it to us from His body, but we must breathe it in. Then we must re-give it equally to His body for re-giving. Likewise, God gives us our very bodies from His body, and we re-give them back to His body equally for re-giving. He gives us our daily bread for our bodies, but we must nurture and attend our bodies continually, else his gift of bread would be of no avail. God gives us the seed, but we must nurture the seed. Those who believe that God's gifts are free spend much time in wishful thinking and selfish prayer, and the making of many useless affirmations in the hope and belief that God will work magic at their request and drop money, or the applause of man, or the full-grown fruit of their desire right in their laps, freely with no effort on their part. Let God do it, they say, and ask and ye shall receive, and with faith and belief you can move mountains. Men have removed mountains by working with the knowledge and power given by God, but not through idleness and wishful thinking. God has given man the power to fly the heavens of the whole world, to talk simultaneously to the whole world of men, to command the tides, to sail under the seas, and to harness Niagara, but not by wishful thinking, nor by faith and belief, nor by sitting idly and letting God do it. The only way man have done these things is to re-give of themselves for that which God has given of himself. If you ask God to help you become a concert pianist, he will unfailingly help you and work with you. But he will not work for you while you sit and affirm that you are going to be a concert pianist. That is what I mean when I say that you must work knowingly with God, knowing that God is working with you, giving you exactly what you are able to give back, equally from moment to moment, and not more, but setting no limitation on what he will give. For God lets you set those limitations, which may be bounded or unbounded, as great or as small as your desire is great or small. God works with engineers and architects to build great bridges and cathedrals, with poets to create great epics, with painters and sculptors to create great masterpieces, with inventors to ease men's burdens, but God does not work for them. He gives all they ask and can receive, but they must re-give equally. Let us be specific. Let us say you want to have an apple orchard in your meadow. Your desire is for wonderful apples, the best ever grown. Your meadow is God's body. If you put seeds in it, where you desire the trees to be, God's body will extend apple trees and apples in due time, and of a quality measured by the equality and inequality of your re-giving of your body in service of watering, pruning, and other expressions of love given by you to match the love given by God. The wonderful apples of your desire will come only if love given by you equals love given to you. A story is told about a farmer who desired a wonderful farm and asked God for it. Soon he found a rocky and worn-out farm and purchased it, whereupon a critical neighbor said, "You prayed for a wonderful farm. If this is what God gave you, what good is prayer?" "Well, God is answering my prayer. You wait and see. This is all I could give now to match his giving, but he will give more when I give more." So the farmer worked knowingly and lovingly with God, and God worked with him with equal love. Year after year, God extended love from his body and the farmer from his, until the wonderful farm of his desire stood before him in all of its majesty as a co-creation of God and man. 5 years of this, and his minister looked out over the lovely, well-cultivated fields and said, "How wonderfully God has blessed you with this beautiful farm. How lovely and rich these fields are." "Yes," said the farmer, "but you should have seen it when God worked it alone." There is not the slightest irreverence in this story, for it is law, and it is the way God works. The critical neighbor was wrong in expecting God to give to the farmer more than he could receive, and the farmer was right in stating that God was answering his prayer. The law of equal giving for re-giving is absolute. You must give equally for what is given you. An effort on your part must pay for the effort on God's part. If you stop giving, you will shut off your own supply. If the heavens cease giving rains to the earth ceases giving crops and forests to the heavens. God's law will never give you anything without an equivalent repayment in action. You must nurture the health which is given you, and give much care to your body as long as you use that gift. You could starve with food 10 feet away from you unless you gave effort in reaching for it and made effort in making use of it. Love means exchange of service for service, and God's law demands that service given must equal service rendered. Question: what I cannot understand is your constant insistence upon the word equally in relation to giving and re-giving. I have always been brought up on the belief that God gives abundantly, very much in excess of what effort we re-give. If we put a bushel of potatoes in the ground, God multiplies them 100-fold for us, and for every measure of what we give to Him, He gives us 100 to our one. Please explain that. Answer. The key to that answer is that God's universe is founded upon balance, one balanced condition which He divides into two equal and opposite conditions of His electric thinking. This electric universe of matter is composed entirely of these two equal and opposite conditions. Every effort of every creating thing is expressed by the motion of interchange between those pairs of opposite conditions, such as matter and space, which constantly interchange equally by breathing into and out of each other equally. Without that equality of rhythmically repeated interchange, the universe could not continue. That rhythmic interchange constitutes the heartbeats of God's body. Its rhythm and balance are absolute because the division in God's electric thinking is equally balanced. Now as to the question. It is not a bushel of potatoes or a measure of wheat which you give to God's body for regiving from God's body. It is a measure of seed which multiplies its patterned form in God's body by transforming one form into another form. There has been no multiplication of God's body, nor has its balance been upset. An equal substance of earth has been transformed into an equal substance of potatoes or wheat. There is no more and no less in God's body by transforming one substance into another. Neither has that multiplication of potatoes or wheat been given to you until you regive an effort or services. If you do not regive to obtain them, they are still God's body and will retransform their forms and substances into the formless earth from which they spring. You cannot have what you do not pay for. Love given must be paid for with equal love regiven. Service accepted must equal service rendered. The potatoes or wheat in the ground are still God's body. He has not given them to you for your body or your use until you regive equally to earn the gift. Question. I see that clearly now, but how would you explain its application to a man in business who gives more than he is paid for, or more than is expected of him, or of a genius who gives all he has with less pay than a workman, or of a great inventor like Goodyear who starved all his life but gave untold value to the world many millions of times in excess of what he received? Answer. The man you refer to could not give more than he has received. He could not give more of himself than he is. For all his life he has been given that which has made him what he is. If he gives more than is expected of him, God's law will balance it in promotion or increased salary. If that is not his motive, and if an increase is not given him, he has enriched himself by experience and better judgment in the management of his life. The genius who gives all of his great value for less pay than a materialist has 10,000 times more reward of the kind of pay he wants than the materialist. He has the ecstasy of living in the high heavens, the joy or self-expression of hearing heavenly rhythms which do not exist for the materialist, and his immortality lives forever in the memory of man while the materialist is forgotten. Goodyear's body starved, but his soul was enriched for eons to come by having demonstrated his immortality. His reward was a satisfaction all the money in the world could not equal. He won the gratitude of the world. You are still regiving love to him for the love he gave to you, and so is the whole world. There are other values than money values, and money values have no meaning whatsoever unless they are the manifestation of love. This gives me an opportunity to say something that I've been leading up to say to you. I am trying to unfold the cosmic mentality of the cosmic coming race of men by helping mankind to realize that the nature of God and of man, and of all creating things, and of all the laws and principles relating to creating things, and all the laws and principles relating to man's dealing with other men, are founded on love. God is love, and creation is love manifested. The universe is founded on love. There is not in the universe anywhere or in anything or in any experience of man or animal or of the elements or the time-starry systems that does not express love. It would be difficult to change such misconception as sin, evil, and wickedness in general, but sin or evil do not exist, and I shall fail in my task if I cannot demonstrate to you with conviction that this is God's universe which expresses God's nature, and that is all good. We have lived in an evil universe long enough. War, fear, and hatred have been the fruit of it. God sent a message of love into the world 2,000 years ago to prepare man's mind for the thought of love which was then unborn in him. God sent another message of love to man of new comprehension for the express purpose of gradually ending man's barbarian days of fear and haze and transform him into the ways of love. That is the reason for these steps in trying to unravel the great complexities of the unknowing life of material sensing to the knowing life of cosmic expression of the God nature in all the ways of man. Question: do we meditate with our mind or our brain? Answer: we meditate with our mind. There is only one mind, which is God's mind. God's mind is the one knower, the one thinker. The reason you think that you have a separate mind of your own is that the thoughts you think are the ones stored in your brain as memories of experience of your own body, of your own thoughts. God's mind motivates these thoughts which you think of as your own. You could not think except for the motivating power of desire in you. Mind thinks ideas of its knowing into form by dividing one idea, which can be known, into many parts. These parts are electrically projected into a three-dimensional universe through the pulsation of thinking. The brain records the thought forms, symbols, and other electrical actions, but records of thoughts are not thoughts. Thinking is electric, but electricity is not knowledge. It is but the motivating power for expressing knowledge. Question: what relation is my mind to my brain? Answer: your brain is electric matter, just electric waves which all matter is. Matter does not think, nor does it know. You do not think with your brain. You think through it, by projecting an electric current through it exactly as you project an electric current through your phonograph to motivate phonograph records. Your phonograph may have a dozen record ideas, but it does not know what is recorded upon them. Your brain has thousands upon thousands of ideas recorded in it, but your brain does not know what is upon them. The intelligence which selects a desired record for your phonograph also selects a desired record from your brain. The electric current of your desires motivates those records into action. Your brain is a part of the electrical machine, which is your body. Its function is to record memories, experiences, and information. It is also the central nerve ganglion of the body, which acts automatically to fulfill the demands of the body, or when willed to act by the intelligence which creates it. The brain does not know what it is doing any more than the automobile knows what it is doing or where it is going when activated by the intelligence which centers it. Knowledge is a quality of mind and not of matter. Matter records knowledge, but a record of knowledge is not knowledge any more than a printed book is the idea recorded in the book. One student reminded me that science has proven that the brain thinks because an instrument has been invented that records electrical wave pulsations in your brain. That instrument does not prove any such thing. It merely proves that an electric current is passing through the brain when mind thinks, just as the same instrument can prove that an electrical current is passing through your recording phonograph or washing machine or wire recorder or your refrigerator. But that does not prove that these machines think. It merely proves that all electric matter obeys the intelligence which motivates all matter. Electricity is the servant of mind, but is not mind. Witness, for example, a telegram which passes through an electrically motivated wire as an electric current. You know that the idea in the telegram is a mind extension arising from an intelligence which thought the idea into form. You know that the wire is not thinking that thought. You also know that the wire is but recording form symbols automatically, and it has no knowledge of what it is doing. You also know that the telegram itself does not know the idea which it manifests, just as books do not know the ideas and diagrams which are printed in them. In this whole universe, we have only mind and matter to deal with. Mind alone can know things and think things. Matter is electric and can only sense things. Sensing is not knowing. The brain is composed of electric vibrations. Vibrations belong to the physical universe of motion. All matter is motion only, electric wave vibrations of motions, and the sole purpose of matter is to build bodies in form and patterns conceived by mind and imagined into form by the electric thinking of mind. Electricity is the tool used to fashion mind conceptions of the Creator into form, but the tool used by any creator is not the Creator. Question: what is the relation of my mind to my brain? Answer: your invisible mind has its center of consciousness within the visible brain, and that conscious center coordinates with the seat of sensation, which the brain obeys whenever your consciousness demands action by it. There are machines made which will do 1,000 complex things when buttons are pressed by the will of mind to compel these machines to obey one's will. The machine adds or subtracts, prints columns, and computes totals more accurately than the human machine can do them, but the human brain has no more awareness of what it is doing than the computing machine. Ideas and concepts formed by your intelligence are expressed through the brain, but not by the brain. Your meditations are spiritual. You interpret them into matter electrically. The physical universe of matter is but the electrical record of the thoughts of mind, but it is not thought. Much confusion arises from the assumption that we are thinking when we are but sensing. The brain is constantly receiving electric messages from all over the body. Such messages are not mental, they are purely electrical. They produce sensation. The brain senses and records every message and sends counteracting messages to other parts of the body. A message from the arm said, "I am in pain." Pain is a sensation, not a thought. Sensing comes from the body, while thought comes from the mind. We believe that we are thinking when we are but electrically sensing. All day long, the body is telling the body through the brain that it is hungry, that it needs a drink of water or wants to dance, or that it is cold, and 100 other things. The senses of the body are thus continually intercommunicating with the senses. But these electrical sensations are not thoughts until these sensations make us mentally aware of them. We then think, and we decide to do something about them. We give our body a drink of water, or gratify its desire to dance, or put a coat on to warm it. Our mental decision is a thought, but the electric message of the body to the body is but a sensation. It is the body speaking to the body. Such a sensation may not even come from your own body to your own body. Another body can record his thought into an electrical sensation by ordering his senses to record the thought in words, which are again recorded as a telegram to you. A series of sensations which have no meaning in themselves are translated into meaning by your intelligence, and you then mentally decide to do something about it. The sensations in matter which have taken place between the mental operation of the sender and the receiver are purely electrical. They have no relation to mind nor to thought of mind. Again, we repeat this fact in other words of the same meaning. All matter is but sensed electrical vibrations of motion. Matter has no intelligence, nor knowledge, nor power to think or meditate. That applies to your brain, for your brain is not but matter, centered by a guiding intelligence. The same thing can be said of your automobile. All material bodies have what might be termed an electrical awareness of each other, and of their relations to each other. The brain is the seat of such an electrical awareness in man. Electrical awareness is necessary to an electrically mechanized universe, but electrical sensations or vibrations between mechanized parts of matter are not mental, for an electrically controlled machine in your factory has exactly the same electric awareness that you have. Its wired nervous system conveys electric messages to all of its parts for the dual purpose of motivating them, as well as for adjusting all parts to each other. Brains handicap meditation. It might well be said that instead of our brains aiding in meditation, we meditate in spite of our brain. For perfect meditation, we need to lose our body, to forget it as though we had no body. One cannot lose or forget his body if his senses will not let him do so. Imagine a musical genius trying to compose a symphony in competition with sensations. He could not do it except by a long practice of being able to shut out any sensations whatsoever, such as of noise, discomfort, or inharmonious environment. A master can do this, but not a novice. Question: does that explain why geniuses are so far greater than other men? Answer: yes, it does. The genius is ahead of other men because of his awareness of his divine power, which he has multiplied and remultiplied 1,000-fold by his lifelong habit of seeking aloneness with himself for the purpose of unfolding divine power for his own creative expression. Your own genius is as great as any man's on earth. The only reason that you do not know it is because you have never given yourself a chance to know of your divine inheritance by forgetting your body long enough to become aware of your soul. You allow emotions and tensions of body sensing to dominate you instead of your sleeping soul. Go into the deep forest and awaken your soul. That is what meditation is for, and the moment you begin to practice it, that moment you begin to express the unlimited power of the awakening genius within you. If you acquire the habit of meditation, you multiply your knowledge and the power to express your knowledge. You also give your body an escape from its tensions, which heals it all ills by restoring its balance. Through meditation, Edison acquired the knowledge and power to unfold an idea not yet known on earth. Through meditation, he got the concept for the idea in a flash of inspiration and created a body for it through concentrating thinking the idea of that concept into a physical form. Through meditation, the great writers, painters, sculptors, poets, and musicians are enabled to work knowingly with God as one with him. Having acquired their concept from God's all-knowing mind, they create their concept into material form by knowingly working with God's hands to create eternally living masterpieces which will endure because their very nature is God's nature manifested in them. Question: how can your mind relax when you say that mind is unchanging? Also, do I have to concentrate to meditate? Answer: it is not your mind which relaxes it is your electric thinking. When your thinking is concentrated, it is under the same stress and strains which a clock spring is when wound up tight. It is an effort to wind a clock spring up tight, for it resists being wound, and it is straining to become unwound. I will draw you a picture which will illustrate this. It will also illustrate your thinking when concentrated. When you release all tensions, the clock spring relaxes. It expands to a position of rest. It is utterly released from effort to resist strain. I will diagram that also. It will illustrate your thinking when decentrated. Figure 1 is a clock spring wound up tight to exemplify concentration. Figure 2, the same spring unwound to exemplify decentration. Figure 3 and 4 represents water concentrated into a drop and deconcentrated into vapor. Figure 5 represents concentration of light rays to a point. Light rays thus concentrated through a lens will burn a hole through paper or fabric. Light rays proceeding in the opposite direction will expand and cool by decentration toward space. The whole physical universe of forming, growing bodies is due to the fast motion of concentrative thinking. Conversely, all degenerating and decaying bodies are due to the expansion of decentrative thinking. Conclusion: I hope you can all see clearly that the only desire you should ever have is a desire to acquire God awareness in you for the purpose of extending God's nature from you as your nature, His power as your power, and His knowledge as your knowing. Meditation is for the purpose of acquiring this awareness. And if you acquired it just for the bliss of it, for the ecstasy and peace of it, for yourself alone, that is not enough. For the God nature is purposeful, and you must be purposeful by extending your nature to all other man for their cultural uplift. World culture comes along from those who have God awareness in them. Without God awareness in man, he is of the jungle. The measure of his growing God awareness is the measure of his growing culture. What applies to man as a whole applies to you. Your masterfulness is of your own making as well as its mediocrity. One of my favorite sayings is this: genius is self-bestowed, and mediocrity is self-inflicted. The world of imagining. Meditation transports one from the transient world of matter to the real world of dreaming, visions, and imagining, where idea is and concepts are born. That is the world where sounds are heard in the silence of your soul, where no sound is, where rhythms of symphony and poems are the rhythms of cosmic pulsing of God's thinking manifested in the heartbeat of his universe. God's ecstatic kingdom of the light is the uncreated universe of souls of things which have not yet appeared in form, but which eternally are. Go thou there. You may journey to the ecstatic world in God's high heavens for just your soul's asking to be transported to that kingdom of the soul of things. Desire that stillness within your soul, and behold, you are the soul of all a universe of countless uncreated ones which spring from one in you. Behold yourself, your uncreated self, eternal you, not yet manifested, or if manifested, have forgotten it as though it never were. Desire thou that kingdom, and behold it standeth before thee. And if there are those among men who ask, where shall I seek the kingdom of the souls of uncreated things? I say, go thou and seek beauty. And where shall I find beauty? You will find beauty where love is, for beauty lies in the giving of love and its regiving. But where shall I find love in this sordid world of fear where no peace is, of hatred where no love can be, of ugliness which stifleth beauty, and evil which driveth love away? Seek it within yourself. When you find self, you will find love, for naught but love is within self. Where love is, neither fear nor hate can be, for evil exists not. There is naught but experience in extended bodies, and all experiences are good. For I say, all experiences extend from love, and love awaits their completion in love. Remember our father-mother's saying in the message of the divine Iliad, I am a patient God. All men will come to me in due time, but theirs is the agony of waiting. These are God's words to cosmic man. You have undoubtedly read these letters straight through, all from one beginning to end. Now begin from the beginning again, slowly, carefully, a sentence at a time, a paragraph at a time, and a page and a chapter at a time, until their deeper meaning becomes a part of your inner consciousness. This is new knowledge and new thinking. You cannot transform your past ages of traditional thinking into new knowing without giving such deep and earnest thought to it that it becomes a part of your very self. New thinking cannot be grasped at once. Do not be discouraged if you do not attain expected heights immediately. You would not expect to play the classics at once if you studied music, for that would be new thinking for you, and we'd have to begin with scales and finger exercises. When you begin to think cosmically, you will advance rapidly if your desire is keen. But from the very day you began, you will note increasingly greater power in your work and a still greater transformation of your personality. This message to you is from my soul to your soul, and in not the senses of your body. By giving deep thought to it, you will find that which you seek. I can open the door for you through which I have entered and found the light, but only you yourself can make it a part of you by giving yourself the time to absorb it completely. Realizing this fact, I have not asked you to send in examination papers, reports, or essays, such as you would be required to do if you were obtaining information which could be remembered and repeated at will. To apply the customary rules of examination by questionnaires would not be fair to you, for one would be examined only for what information he has. A man cannot be examined as to what knowledge he has, for the depth of knowledge cannot be sounded. Knowledge is light, from which all ideas of things are born, about which you can become informed. But information concerning a fact is not knowledge of their cause. Whatever emanates from you as a result of this new knowing will be creative expression, not mere repetition. Knowledge is the one basis for creation. To become knowingly a creator is to achieve the highest pinnacle of human expression. However, if you need further clarification of anything which may not have been sufficiently clear to you, write your question clearly and briefly as possible and send it here. All such questions, if not duplicated by others, will be printed in a question-answer section of the following lessons. A personal word to all readers. Dear cosmic friends, your desire for God's message for the new cosmic age was expressed when you enrolled for the Intimate Home Study course. And if I can but impart this new knowledge to you during the coming months, I will have worthily fulfilled my mission on earth, which is to bring the cosmic age of man into being. In these first 4 lessons, I know you will realize the trend of my desire in respect to each one of you individually and as a whole. This letter is to make my purpose a little more clear. Let us therefore look back on man's cycle of unfolding to aid in clarifying my intent. The human race is about to undergo a third great transition, which will uplift it to the heights as yet unknown dreamed of. The purpose of these lessons is to prepare you for your own uplift and to become a leader for world uplift. The pagan age of man. The first transition occurred at the dawn of consciousness, when man first began to think and know. Out of this search for a greater being, the pagan man of idol worship of many gods arose. But man was still brute man, fearing all things, still loving to shed blood for self-purpose, and to appease his many gods, whom he also feared. The barbaric age of man. The second transition occurred when mystic messengers told of the one God of love, but man could conceive only a God of wrath and vengeance, whom they feared, and whom they appeased with blood shed on their very altars in exchange for mercy and absolution. This present age of barbaric man has but one God, but many religions. Out of the fear of God, man created hate and evil. He divided into tribes, then nations, which killed for plunder and for power over other men. The barbarian age is still killing and is still afraid of God and man, but it has already begun to dissolve because man is beginning to comprehend the unity of God and man, the meaning of love and the interdependence of man, and his ability to vision the possibility of one God, one religion, and one unified world. The cosmic age of man. The third great transition now dawning is a new age of cosmic man, of spiritual mind, knowing, who has transcended his body sensing. Cosmic man is illumined with the light of love and its application to life and law. Cosmic man knows God in him as one. He communes and works with him as one, and knowingly interprets God's nature as co-creator of God's universe. It was for the express purpose of bringing the necessary new knowledge into the world to effect this transition into a world of one God, one religion, and one world that God illumined me during a whole lifetime to demonstrate the multiplied power of cosmic man, to multiply his versatility and masterfulness and creative expression, and for giving that knowledge of the light for the illumining of other men. To present more effectively this all-important and least-known subject, the illumination, I have decided to define, describe, and explain cosmic consciousness and the illumination by my own experiences beginning at the age of 7, with partial illumination every year in May, with deeper illumination every 7th year, and with full illumination in 1921, covering a period of 39 days and nights. I had thought that I would never reveal this most sacred experience as a personal one, but Lao and I now feel that I owe it to the sum of human knowledge. For so many centuries it has been known as an extremely rare human event, but which no one has experienced and has been able to explain because of the inability of past ages to comprehend it. There are an ever-increasing number of cosmic humans who are now ready and able to comprehend cosmic consciousness. Lao and I know of many. Some have come here, others have written from all over the country, and many are now taking this study course. Everyone who is deeply inspired by the message of the divine Iliad is ready for it, otherwise my books would have no meaning for them. For the above reason, I believe that it is incumbent upon me that I should now unfold this greatest of all mysteries of the universe. Any hesitation which I have had in making this decision has been dispelled by my beloved Lao, whose life with mine is likewise dedicated to the infiltration of the love principle of nature into our human relations to replace the fear, hate, sin, and evil which have dominated human relationships of the past and have caused man to kill man in war succeeding war, which will eventually destroy the human race unless saved from destruction by love. Now, as I told you to do at the end of the 4th lesson, study these 4 lessons carefully and slowly. Remember always it is new knowledge and therefore has a new language. Next month I shall not only explain and define cosmic consciousness, but give the scientific explanation of prayer. Many have told me their prayers are not effectual, thus proving that they have not yet learned how to pray and the true meaning of prayer. All prayer is answerable in the light of all-knowing, and I shall endeavor to unfold more of this inner power for you by giving you every possible explanation on this all-illuminating subject next month. With our love and blessings, I am sincerely yours, Walter Russell. End of lesson.